This world is dying. An unspecified, cleverly non-politically directed nuclear calamity has befallen this world, plunging it towards an unending frozen winter, with the temperature decreasing every single day. Already the landscape is covered in snow, and almost all life on the surface has been extinguished. I have managed to stumble across a vault hidden away in the tundra. Inside, I am offered shelter, but little else. In order to feed myself and ensure my survival, I will have to delve into other dimensions. These other dimensions, which are handedly also known as vaults, are filled with loot, food, and equipment. I'll be able to spend my XP on powerful skills and abilities and ensure my survival within the vault. As soon as we begin, I immediately start freezing to death as I'm in the entryway of the vault and it's attached to the outside. Outside the vault, it is currently a crispy negative 30 degrees centigrade, or as Canadians would call it, t-shirt weather. Inside, one level down, it's much more comfortable, and I managed to stop freezing. The vault is incredibly empty. There's not much here. Bunch of beds and some very basic supplies just to get me started. It's currently late summer, believe it or not. The temperature is only going to get worse from here. The first few days, it might actually be possible for me to head outside in protective gear, but by winter time, leaving the vault will be an impossibility. In the dead of winter, outside the vault, the temperature will be so low that even Finns will have to admit that it's cold outside. Down on the second floor of the vault, all we have is a water purifier, some kind of plinth, and the beginnings of a vault portal. This is how I'm going to be getting all of my supplies, by traveling interdimensionally. One floor down, we head to a room called the unfinished floor. Typical contractors, they hadn't managed to finish this by the due date, and now there's just an unfinished wound in the vault. The final floor is designated the basement. On arrival, the sound of zombies very quickly communicated to me that this is just an empty cavern that the vault connects to. Now that we've explored the vault, it's time to explore my literature. This is my quest book, and it will guide me through journeying to other realms. The booklet gives me all of the information I need in order to create my vault portals and to develop the skills that are implemented by the mod pack to allow me to continuously tackle vaults with increasing difficulty. The first two things on our shopping list are vault stone and chromatic iron. We've already encountered a little bit of vault stone. It was in the lab. There's a few bits down here, but not quite enough for a finished portal, so we're gonna have to find some more. And chromatic iron can only be found at extreme depths. At first, I thought this stuff here was chromatic iron and I'd gotten lucky. But no, this is just some weird crystal thing that I don't know what it is. So the obvious solution is we need to go down into the cavern. But before doing that, I thought I might as well gather some blocks. After having completed my block gathering, I thought I may as well quickly pop outside just to get a lay of the land. It's still freezing cold, but with this wool gear, I should be able to last a good few minutes. It's very cold out. There's a goat. My god. It's horrible out here. Freezing cold. There's trees over there. Over there. Oh god. Oh no. Oh. Crap. Yeah. Okay, and there's very deep snow. Okay, we're gonna need some boots or snowshoes. After only a few minutes of exposure, I was already starting to freeze, so I decided to go back inside where I could live. Just a reminder, we're here to find vault stone and chromatic iron. But I'll also be looking for useful things like iron and gold while I'm here too. Diving fearlessly into the cavern, I very quickly picked up on a small problem. I tried to avoid them, but very quickly found myself unconsensually penetrated by skeleton arrows. But the real problem was, I didn't seem to be healing for some reason. Of course, usually in Minecraft, if you've got a full belly, you start healing naturally. But for me, it doesn't seem to be the case. Putting that out of my mind though, I thought I'd found some chromatic iron. But no, it was more of those stupid crystal things. In my defense, they do look a lot like the chromatic iron ore that I'm looking for. I'm getting blue-balled here. I did manage to find what I was looking for within a few minutes though. This is the chromatic iron ore that we need, but we needed 15 to complete the quest and I only found 9. Meaning, of course, that if I wanted to progress the quest system, I was going to have to find another deposit. And with the realization that I can't heal, that's going to be... well, it's gonna suck. As a little pick-me-up though, I did manage to find some diamonds nearby, which excited me for a brief moment, but then that disappeared. Oh, I just realized, even if I got as many diamonds as I needed, I don't have any wood. I can't make a crafting table. Now, I will say that the beauty of being kissed on the mouth by arrows is the adrenaline spikes. Every millimeter my heart goes down, I get a little closer to death, without any way to regenerate my health at the moment. In order to heal myself, I have to complete the quests, but I can't complete the quests without leaving the mine. And so I carefully kept crawling through that mine, terrified. And unbeknownst to me, it was now day 2. One of the beauties of having to live underground is that it's going to be incredibly hard for me to keep track of the days. It's kind of like when your mom and dad corner you at Thanksgiving and demand to know why you haven't shown up to work and no one's seen you in days, and that you need to go to therapy or at least rehab. But in reality, you're just playing Factorio. Now, while I indeed was having my nerves strung out like violin strings, I was also managing to find a good bit of iron, and I made sure to shove all of it into my pockets just in case I find enough to make some armor. I then had a very cheeky idea. I thought maybe I can trick the game and unlock healing without having to find things in the cavern. You see, one of the quests is to mine vaultstone, and this here is vaultstone. So I wonder if I can complete the quest just by mining this. And yes, it works. The cheese. Problem is though, all that quest does is unlock this recipe, for which I need chromatic iron, as well as 4 diamonds, 3 for a pickaxe and 1 for the recipe itself. And so it's back to the lithium mines with me. Much to the benefit of my cortisol levels though, going a different way uncovered a discovery. I found a mine shaft, which meant wood, which meant I can make some tools. So that was one problem solved. All I had to do was remain alive. Yes, planks, crafting table. Let's make an axe. Process a bit easier. In terms of the skeleton issue, I had the bright idea to make myself a shield. But unbeknownst to me, the shield does not work like usual. Instead, it just has a 5% chance to block. I can't use it manually. Meaning I still have a 95% chance to be bopped by the bone boys. In my relentless effort to avoid my probable death, I made sure to keep gathering iron to make myself my armor. And after some scavenging, I had myself a fanciful chestplate, with enough iron besides to make myself some additional armor too. An issue was I didn't have any fuel, so I couldn't smelt all the iron I had. I solved this problem by making a bucket and grabbing some hot lava. Armored, fueled up, and ready to party, on day 4 I managed to find myself some vaultstone. Natural vaultstone. One of the things you can get from mining natural vaultstone is a vault rock. This rock is later used to make a teleporting crystal to make a vault portal. Buying some extra lava in one of the tunnels, I made sure to grab it, as well as gathering the last of the iron I needed to make myself some trousers. And now at long last we're fully equipped. While I was waiting for the last of my armor to smelt, I had another cheeky little idea. You see here in the quest book, I've been struggling to complete this quest here, the chromatic iron one. But I wondered, do I actually have to complete this? Or can I just skip it and go through to the altar? Doing so might allow me to progress further, and I can get my healing ability, which would be bloody delicious. To attempt my idea, I needed 1 more diamond and another bucket of lava. Thankfully, one of the tunnels allowed me a vantage point, and I didn't see any bone boys around, so I made my way down. Lava. My plan was going relatively well, and I was on my way back to the vault when I got glassed by a 5-year-old.
No one's knocking me out. I've said it before.
Oh crap.
I'll say it again. I'm a scouser.
One of the useful things about my handy vault mini-map up here is that I'm able to see the mobs that are around me and plan my route back to the elevator. Crap. There's a skeleton right there, and there's one over there, and I need to get through to get back to the elevator. So I'm basically pinned by skeleton men. Great. Due to the fact a light breeze would kill me at this point, I elected at the time to go all the way around and hope that I had better odds. I managed to loop around, but there were 2 bone boys guarding the entrance, so I decided to go round the back and simply mine my way through. Okay, let's go. We did it. My elementary school diploma meant that I had gathered the right amount of diamonds, 3 for the pickaxe, and then after gathering my obsidian, 1 more diamond for the vault altar. Sadly, we aren't quite done. There's a new quest. I have to use the vault altar to create a vault crystal. This process is done with ingredients. I use my vault rock here on the altar and it gives me the list. Most of the things I'd been told to gather were fine, except for this. Leaves. Now, I might just be blind, but I hadn't seen any trees growing in the vault, so it looks like I'm gonna have to brave the wilderness. Of course, it had to be pissing leaves. Oh, just screw my eyes, why don't you? I really didn't want to have to go outside. It's very cold out there, and as it's the middle of the night, I'm going to bed. Traversal in the tundra at night is not only pissing cold, it's also completely impossible. I will freeze to death in moments. Going outside is always extremely dangerous, and as a man on hardcore mode, I don't want to take the risk. At any moment, the temperature could drop drastically, and I'd be frozen on the spot. But I couldn't think of any other way to get leaves, so I had to make the exception this one time to go and gather some. I made myself a deep slate path to make sure I was avoiding deep snow. Honestly, this whole minus 30-degree tundra is just terrible. I don't understand why people live in places like this. Oh yeah, why not deliberately live in an environment where being a mammal is considered a disadvantage? Using some scissors I managed to gather all the leaves that I needed, as well as some wood besides. I had a severe lack of fuel in the vault, so I thought I should gather this while I can. But as I was starting to freeze, I thought it's about time I go home now. And made it home just in time before I started feeling an impulse to play hockey. With my beautiful leaves, I was now able to complete the recipe and initiate the crystal transformation procedure, which basically consists of pressing this button. Yes, quest is done. The completion of our vault altar meant that we have achieved our first skill point. There's a lot of goodies to choose from, but I'm gonna be choosing heal, funnily enough, because that should allow my cortisol levels to lower. It's a very tiny heal. Quite insulting, to be honest, but it is what it is. But now things can start getting really exciting. The vault hunting expeditions can now begin. I topped off my cheeky little portal here and used my fabulous crystal to make myself a portal. Traveling through the portal sent me to my first vault. The first vault that wasn't mine, I mean. This vault was called the Sand Sworn Dunes, which is odd because there's no dunes here. But there is sand in the ground, and being the opportunistic parasite gremlin that I am, I started gathering the stuff. There's no way for me to get sand in my original dimension, so I may as well take it back from here. Approaching some loot chests I spied on the horizon, my first group of enemies spawn. The enemies that spawn will increase with difficulty as I level up. In this case, they're all a bunch of husks, because I'm in some kind of sandy place. In a sort of cruel tease, one of the first chests contained a vault sword. And it was then that I learned that this is a gacha game. When I use the vault sword, it randomizes it. The item is designated a level that is proportional to the vault it's found in, and a bunch of random stats. This one's actually pretty good. I was much more hoping for a Hatsune Miku body pillow, but I'll take this instead. And the last thing I learned about the vaults was that there are these healing gems around, which to me are completely useless. As the second I take damage, I fiddle with my heal button like I'm a Parkinson's patient caught in an electric fence. Just as I was beginning to understand the way things work and get my bearings, I stumbled onto something very odd. I was hearing chicken sounds, and then this man descended from the heavens with his Chad-like energy riding his trusty steed, and I became aware of something that I hadn't even considered. I knew I was going to be able to get blocks in these vaults, but I didn't think I'd be able to get animals. This means it might actually be possible for me to turn my vault in my original dimension into a fully sustainable habitat. And so that's going to be one of my goals long term. Turn the metallic skeletal structure that preserves my mammalian body from the frozen tundra outside into a beautiful, livable human habitat. There's gonna be a lot to learn. In fact, most of the items I'd managed to loot at this point, I had no idea what any of them were. And after looking into it, it turns out most of these items have as many uses as One Punch Man Season 3 has frames. Of course, I didn't really know that yet. I was just filling my pockets with everything that wasn't stapled down. And fighting the moderators of r/veganism. As the vault portal I came through was just about to close, I headed back to the opening room and gathered a few more bits of sand just before leaving. After heading back through, the vault portal closed or shattered behind me, and I was given a bunch of statistics about how my trip in the vault went. None of it was very important though. The only thing that actually mattered was I had gotten enough XP to level up twice. After shopping around for my options, I decided that my favorite was going to be this vein miner thing. It's a toggleable ability that makes me mine multiple blocks at once. Anyway, that completes our vault quest. And as a reward, we get to play our gacha game again. We get a randomized sword and a randomized shield. The mysterious shield turned into an unopened flat pack from IKEA, which for some reason is much better than the shield I had before. I don't fully understand that. And the sword isn't even worth mentioning. It was basically worse than the first one I found. But I thought now that I have something to cure my chlamydia, armor, and a better shield, I may as well go back into the chromatic iron findings. And this is the way that Vein Miner works. Basically just mines a whole bunch of extra blocks whenever you break one. I'll definitely say it was a much better experience walking through the cavern without having to fear that an amoeba sneeze is going to kill me at any moment. Did find my iron eventually. It was in the ceiling. It also happened to be the largest vein in the world. Wish I could have found this first, but okay. And that's our quest done. We get 24 extra pieces of iron for that, and unlock some new quests too. I would like to be able to make this. It's a potion. It allows me to heal even more health while I'm in the vault. The problem is, alongside chromatic iron and glass, you need a third ingredient, which is some form of either fungi or plant, both of which I have in very short supply. But I found I was able to make progression in other areas. For example, this tool station can be built by me. The only thing that I absolutely cannot make at all is this little pouch. As far as I'm aware, I cannot get wool at all, and quite specifically, this is purple wool. I also can't get purple dye. I have no idea how I'm going to solve this, and this is a very important thing to make. In order to visit the next vault, I'm going to need some seeds. And for that, we're going to make a farm in the unfinished room in the vault. There's some good light in here, and since it's hideous anyway, I figure it's probably the best room. The full recipe is seeds, coal, sticks, and stone. I also really need some charcoal to keep purifying my water supply. I don't have much left, and I don't want to use all of the wood that I have just yet. I'm kind of rationing myself with my limited supplies at the moment. I did find 1 carrot and 2 seeds while I was exploring the mines, and so I can at least get started on a farm, but I'm gonna need bone meal if I want to accelerate this process. Anyway, here's our new tool station. We use this alongside the wood we get in vaults and chromatic iron in order to make ourselves some vault tools, which go all the way up to level 100. As my diamond pickaxe was at half durability, I thought I may as well make one of these. Allegedly, they're better than diamond, but we'll see. Afterwards, I was looking into my recipes again, and was quite annoyed I wasn't able to finish this potion. This one specifically shouldn't be too bad if I can find some mushrooms. And the last new little vault thing I made was this bounty table. Within it, I can accept additional quests to kill certain things, and get rewards. I accepted an objective to kill some assassins. I didn't know what assassins were, so I looked into the bestiary, and it turns out that blazers are considered assassins, among others. I don't know how these are assassins. They're just like blancmange creatures, but okay. While I was waiting for my farm to grow, I thought I should grow some trees as well. I had some saplings left over and decided to plant them. As I didn't have any bone meal left and was just sitting around twiddling my thumbs, I thought I may as well mine for some coal while we're down here. I have indeed cracked open the vault for this tunnel, but I think it'll pay off in the long run. And we can use our vein miner thing to speed up the process. As I still had a skill point left over, I thought I should use it and decided to unlock a permanent buff of haste. This should speed up our mining, which will help us in the long run. After getting to the right height, I found another tunnel, within which I found all the coal I needed, as well as more ball busters. Only this time, I'm actually happy to see them, because I can heal myself and the bones are going to be useful. In fact, I headed back down immediately and used them to duplicate my seeds. And with that, we've now unlocked the key to our next dimension. We just fiddle the button here, and we get the delightful noise. I actually got incredibly lucky with my second vault. It was called a poison vault, but the poison on the side wasn't actually poison. It was just glass. The reason I got so lucky is I had been delivered a veritable vault of wood to gather. I definitely wasn't going to pass up the opportunity, so I made sure to grab several stacks. In this vault, I noticed there was also this weird purpley thing with some crystals around it. I didn't know what it was and couldn't figure it out. Fueling my gambling addiction, I managed to find some shoes that were randomized. They gave me ability power and mana regeneration, neither of which is useful, but yay. The enemies in this vault mainly consisted of the shroom men, slow-moving sticky creatures that died after a couple of hits. There was also these greater shroom emperors, or whatever they're called, that when killed drop a shroom turtle. I don't understand this world, and I'll be glad to be leaving soon. The mushroom men sometimes also come accompanied by these mushroom attack dogs. Dog being a loose word there. They're more like Goombas, but the important thing is they apparently count as assassins in my quest. There were a few new interesting types of chests in this vault. These are called the living chests. I don't know what kind of Lovecraftian eldritch horror has turned these things into chests, but anyway. The second kind of new chest is these ornate chests. They tend to have nicer things inside them, like diamonds. And these diamonds aren't your usual diamonds, they can be used to make unique vault items. The ornate chests also tend to have experience bottles in them, which is very handy. I will say though, all the looting is very thirsty work, and keeping my water stock supplied is quite tricky. I can gather water while in the vault, but I have no way to purify it. The final interesting thing I found in there were these coins. They can be mined and they give money, copper, silver, or gold. The money is generally used for crafting, but it can also be used for a few other things, like re-rolling skills if I was a lemon and chose a stupid one. Just before heading back, I noticed this quaint little room, within which are some more ornate chests, but more importantly, some books. I was quite keen to make myself some enchantments before heading into the second vault, but realized I didn't have any way to be able to get books. And so here we are, problem solved. I might live in a penguin and polar bear infested wasteland in real life, but in the vaults, seasonal depression is avoidable. Now then, that about wraps up our second vault trip. Managed to get a total of 6,600 experience, which brings us to level 4. I then noticed my throat was a little dry and I was dying of thirst. But thanks to the consistent support of my hydro homies, I grabbed myself a new bottle of water and started chugging. My hand shaking since it had been 15 minutes since I last gambled for something, I engaged the revealing procedure for this vault axe I found. But it was terrible. There's only one solution for it. I need to gamble harder. 90% of gamblers quit before hitting it big, after all. You only lose when you stop gambling. Storage is becoming a bit of an issue. I'm finding a lot of things in these vaults, but getting upstairs in order to store things is becoming a pain in the rectum. Since we found a hell of a lot of darkwood in the last vault, I made myself a whole bunch of storage chests and placed them around the altar. This here is my money chest. It houses all of my money, for which I have very little. But I do have a lot of these pink crystals, which can be used for something, I'm told. And this is my library, where I will be enchanting many things. Sadly, most of the enchantments I would usually get have been disabled for this mod pack. The reason is a lot of those damage reduction and damage increase upgrades have been moved to be on the gacha armor and weapons. My mushroom dog murder in the last vault meant that I am now able to complete the quest and claim my rewards. One of the things I get is this box, which apparently wasn't designed for idiots like me to open. I found out shift right click is the correct option. Now, in order to ensure my survival for a considerable amount of time, I'm gonna need some animal products. For that, the vault has provided me with a new recipe, an animal pen. Apparently with this and some magical jars, I can grab animals out of the wild and store them indefinitely. Problem is, there's no animals in the wild because we live in an Arctic tundra. The only animals that live within 300 square miles are goats and the mysterious animal that Klondike bars are made from. So we basically just have to hope that we run into another chicken like we did in the first vault. And with that, we're about ready to head into our third vault. This recipe required some more seeds, but luckily the farm is up and running, so I was able to make it rather swiftly. To progress my tools to their next stage, I needed to make this, the jewel applicator. These new vault tools that I've invented can have jewels glued onto them. And the jewels can give you specific buffs that are helpful in the vaults. For example, all of these different affinities here will allow me to mine different chests instead of having to open each one of them. I decided I would crack on to the next vault in order to test it out. This one was a burny, fiery, sulfurous affair, but did have some oak wood inside that I thought I would help myself to. Within one of the first few rooms, I found this crane in the middle, and when inspecting it, found it to be some kind of loading bay. These are crates of apples, which are brilliant because it means we could make golden apples when we get home. The enemies I faced were once again husks. Oh yes, and weird South American mummies were also on the menu. I also found another library, so made sure to grab all of the books so I wouldn't run out of toilet paper. Amongst the other rooms, this central room seemed to have a bunch of gemstones. And then I had a creeper blow its load in my face. Very rude, 3 out of 10. Reeling from my experience, I decided to call the vault there, and I leveled up and got an expertise point. These are given once every 5 levels, and these expertise points allow me to use a new skill tree. I'm not gonna lie, all of these little upgrades and things are very enjoyable. It's not quite as in-depth as a game like Path of Exile, where if you mention that to a therapist, they'll start writing things down rather quickly, but it does scratch the itch. For example, this one here gives me an extra jewel in a jewel pouch whenever I find one of those. This one here has specific buffs to the bounty hunting board, and this one here offers a chance for when I craft vault crystals that they might be entirely free. Basically just more gambling mechanics, I love it. I would like to progress even further, but to craft things like the vault forge, I'm gonna need a netherite ingot. I don't have that, and it can't be found in vaults, so I'll need to go to the nether sooner or later. To craft my next vault crystal, I needed more leaves, and I also needed copper this time. I had plenty of leaves, but I didn't have any copper, so I needed to head down into the mine and expand it a little. I ran into some lapis while I was down there, which is excellent because I was a hair's breadth away from level 30. The constant reminder at the top right that I had unspent skill points was annoying me, so I decided to spend it on a dash ability. And this is what it does. Yeah, level 1 is a little disappointing. It's pretty much just a little motion I make when they call my order at McDonald's. It was now day 15, and I was starting to get the first hints that the temperature is getting quite bad outside. While on the storage floor, which is 1 below the outside, I was starting to freeze. This indicates that even at depth, heat is starting to escape. Going back to a more reasonably temperate floor, I decided to enchant my pickaxe. I got efficiency and unbreaking. It's always nice to get a double enchant. One of the few enchants I can get on my sword is looting, which came in handy when I stabbed this enderman and managed to steal both of his balls. I also managed to get my first ranged weapon from a bone boy. He kindly dropped it for me when he fell over. I don't have many arrows at the moment, but it'll still come in handy. I kept on exploring the tunnels near my house and found this rather strange spawning device, within which a bunch of poison spiders jumped out, and I was very lucky not to get envenomated. That always tends to ruin my day. Continuing on through the spindling tunnels that near my base, I found a familiar sight. It was my elevator. I was confused because I shouldn't be on the right elevation. And indeed, I'm not. I'm sort of midway between 2 floors. One might think at this point that I'm getting pretty competent at dealing with spiders and skeletons and all this, but no, nearly died on day 19. Bad. Whoa, nearly died. Skeletons, man. Maybe they are assassins. Looking upwards, I suddenly noticed that this tunnel is actually exposed to the frozen wasteland outside, and maybe one of the reasons as to why my vault is struggling to retain heat. The reason I'd come down into the mine was to try and find emeralds, and upon smashing a rather inconspicuous pot, I actually managed to get the exact amount I needed. The beauty of this is that I can now craft the Vault Enchanter. Unlike a regular enchanting table, this leaves nothing to the imagination. You can literally just pay to get whatever enchant you want. For example, if I throw my pickaxe in here, you can see that for 5 emeralds and the cost of one single level, I can pick and choose whatever enchants I would like on my tool. Extremely powerful so long as you have the money to pay for it. You might notice I have 50 emeralds now. That's because I got them as a reward for completing the Vault Enchanter quest. But they're gonna run low soon, so I'm gonna need a secondary supply. On day 16, I crafted my next vault crystal and accepted a quest to go and kill some dwellers. It was now time for me to check out the black market. It's really the only place you can get good stuff these days. Unfortunately, it's all out of my price range. I have many of these little crystal things, but nowhere near 11,000. Which is the cost of knowledge, apparently. You might wonder exactly how one is supposed to carry 11,000 items to buy something, and the answer is you're supposed to make that little purple pouch, which can store an infinite number of those currency crystals. You know, the pouch that I absolutely can't make because A, I don't have access to wool, and B, I don't have access to purple dye. That one. The next vault we got to was another one of those poison biomes, within which there were many different types of mushrooms, and I happily shoved all these highly poisonous mushrooms into my pockets. It's the mushroom men. Ooh, looks like we have an interesting room up here. Oh my god, I forgot to bring my stupid water again. I then found an immensely beautiful treasure room, within which you're supposed to be able to find a lot of great things. I, however, wasn't able to do so, because I had managed to forget my water bottle at home and was soon going to be dying of thirst. Oh yes, this is what the gems do on my pickaxe, by the way. I forgot to show that. They basically allow you to mine the chests as if they're blocks, and all the things just drop onto the ground. Another reason I'm supposed to get one of those pouches is because you can actually filter your loot when you pick stuff up. Cracking these things open did reward me quite a lot. Hell of a lot of magical paper, diamonds, enchanted bottles, all that. And of course, the odd bit of gambling just as soon as the shakes were starting to go away. This time I got myself a new little helmet. Looks like a little crown. It's not very good because it shows off that minoxidil hasn't really started working yet. I then left the vault and its numerous unclaimed rewards because my thirst levels were getting too high. Definitely wasn't going to be leaving this piece of crap behind again. I'm just kidding, it definitely happened again. After smashing 1 or 2 of the enchanted bottles on the floor, I had level 30 again, so I decided to enchant my axe. Checking my day counter, it's now apparently day 18, which may explain why the elevator shaft is now freezing cold. Basically, as the laws of thermodynamics show us, as the temperature continues to drop outside, it'll become easier for heat inside to escape. Because as we all know, gases expand when they heat up, and if you have one high pressure environment next to a low pressure environment, if the two environments aren't entirely sealed, then you're going to leak pressure from one into the other. It's a magical concept called entropy, which also explains why every internet subculture, no matter how benign, ends up being infiltrated by gooners. Anyway, we got some mushrooms, didn't we? So we can make one of those vault potions. It's basically an emergency 4-heart heal that I can sometimes do. It only works within the vault and only really has use when my heal spell is on cooldown, but it might save my life. Within the next vault, I managed to find a bunch of decorative blocks. White concrete powder. Most of my home vault is built out of iron blocks. It might be incredibly difficult for me to build any extensions to the vault if I have to build them out of iron. So these whitish blocks may do as a substitute. The enemies within this snowy vault were mainly wolves and sprightly ice men that were trying to give me a hug with their sticky white fingers. Well, them and a bloke called Barry, who seems intimidating until you realize it's just a zombie that stuck its arms into an ice cream machine. Honestly, that vault was pretty underwhelming, but I did manage to get a bunch of crates that contain food. I did figure something out though. These blue rooms that you see on the minimap are not just randomly colored squares. They actually indicate that this room is a ore room and can be mined for various forms of crystals. The quantity of gems I'll need for higher level crafting is very high, so I made sure that whenever I came across these rooms, I used it for all it's worth. Here we are. Home at last. 5,000 experience. Nice. 51 mobs stabbed. Mostly assassins. 2 dwellers. I think we're on a dweller quest, aren't we? Honestly, we didn't get that much, but we did level up. Decided to use my shiny new skill point on upgrading my heal. Now it should be slightly less pathetic. It heals 1.5 now, I think, as opposed to just 1. I was also running out of space to put my purple pink crystal things. I'd love to buy something from here, but it appears that the tariffs have hit the black market as well. I really need to get that purple wool, but I have no idea how I'm gonna do it. On day 20, I entered some warm, fiery dimension, and rather helpfully, the entry room was filled with dirt. I very much need this as I have no consistent way of getting this in my vault, and I needed to grow my crops. The new creatures I encountered in this vault were skeletons that apparently had undergone some kind of DIY craniotomy. Oh yeah, and these things. I don't know what the hell they are, but I hate them. Not really for any good reason, I just hate what they stand for. Amongst the loot though, I did get a gem bag, which allows you to select one of 3 randomly selected gems. These can be used for arts and crafts by gluing onto tools, like I did with my pickaxe. But it's gambling time, baby! Ah, yeah. That's right, give me the... I just need to roll 2 more commons and a legendary, and I'm calling it there for today. These were actually quite good. I got +2 health as a random roll. Much better than my stinky level 2 boots, which have area of effect qualities. I don't even know what that is. This time, just as I was beginning to wrap things up in the vault, something interesting happened. I managed to fill the meter at the top. Once it was filled, I was given a new objective, to consume a lodestone. I didn't know what that was, but I thought it might be that little purple thingy. After doing so, I was informed that the vault had been completed. I thought the only objective was to loot for 25 minutes. I didn't know you could actually finish them. When I returned back to my original dimension, I was met with the reality of the matter. I had been given 24,000 experience. This is quite a lot more than I'd been getting previously. This meant I was leveled up 3 times, and was now level 9. I was also given a crate so that I can gamble more. If you think about it, if you take your child's college fund and gamble it and win, they can go to an even better college. So you're doing it for them. Honestly, most of what I got wasn't very good, but I did get a new chest plate. Very fashionable. Definitely doesn't look like I'm king of the homeless people, but okay. I actually got a legendary sword too. It's not much better, but it does do more damage, so I'm gonna be using it. I also decided to stick unbreaking and looting onto it. The first of my 3 skill points I spent on a permanent damage upgrade. I also unlocked the warp specialization for my dash. This means I shoot an arrow and teleport to where it lands. And I was also a little curious, so I did some science. I wondered if I upgrade my dash, is the arrow going to shoot further? So I chose a spot on the far wall and aimed at the opposite wall. I then leveled up and repeated the same procedure, and found that I had moved 1 block further than I had previously. So yes, it does work. Upgrading the dash ability does make the arrow shoot further. I then had a cheeky peek onto the black market to see if they had anything for sale other than furry commissions, and found that yes, they had something very useful. I could buy emeralds. Literally transfer some of my wealth into more useful wealth. It's like when you sell cryptocurrency and get real money in return. Weirdly, I decided the best thing I should spend these new emeralds on is my shears. I can use them to very quickly gather wool, if I ever find some. I also made a new workstation. This is a dual crafting table. Unfortunately, to use it, I need an incredible amount of gold, as well as gemstones, for which I've found 0, and scrap, which I can't get because I don't have a scrapping table, for which I would need a netherite ingot. Everything was beginning to point to me going to the nether. I need to get some netherite. I simply couldn't make any of the crafting stations without it, and couldn't progress in the quest system till I had made those stations. Rubbing a couple of my underdeveloped brain cells together, I suddenly remembered you can make wool from string. In fact, the reason I remembered you're able to do this at all is because people kindly remind me of it in the comments. Creative criticism is always welcome. Thank you. Please, Daddy, may I have some more? Anyway, so we solved the wool problem. New problem! We can't get purple dye. Like, at all. Apparently, there's only 2 ways to get purple dye. You get them from plants that are purple, or you combine blue and red dye. I can get blue dye, I cannot get red dye. Red dye can only come from red plants. My hope is that I'll be able to find some red plants in one of the vaults that I explore. But unless I can do that, I'm up a creek without a biscuit. Hoping to get lucky, I quickly popped into the next vault, which was a snowy area. Excellent if I wanted to get more of that white dye for expanding the vault, but not so good if I wanted to make the currency pouch. Enemies, of course, included old Mayo Hands again, and the ice cream fondler. On the good side, I did get some more money. On the bad side, I started to notice that my pickaxe is just about to break, and these things are not easy to repair either. In order to repair things, you need to get these red gems and make this repair kit. You also need a lot of vault scrap, and the only way to get that is to use the vault recycler, and for that, I need a netherite ingot. So as you can see, I needed to go to the nether, and rather sharpish. Insultingly, I also noticed that there were tents in this vault made of wool. So wool is not in short supply anymore, unlike my patience, because I'm genuinely starting to believe that purple dye is impossible. Underneath a little tented enclosure, I found a little vault room. And within the vault room, a bunch of pig guys spawned with big cleavers. They started chopping me without my consent, and I started not enjoying the process, especially when reduced to 2.5 hearts in a single hit. Quickly changing to my arrow dash ability, I headed back to the entrance and managed to zoop myself out. Yes. Oh! Woo! Bloody hell. Okay. That is definitely the closest I've come to death so far. They're immune to arrows. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? Don't worry, I've got a trick up my sleeve. Okay. We good? Outsmarted, Piggingtons. Lot of health, these guys. Lot of health. After my handsome, cunning, and brave victory over the pigmen, I jumped down to receive my loot, for which there was none. But what I could hear was a villager, stuck in the wall somewhere. Massive problem though. I only have 4 minutes left until the vault closes, and I'm nowhere near to completing this vault. So I couldn't spend any more time down here to look for the man. But it's good to know that they can exist. If villagers can exist in vaults, that means I might be able to get one day. And also, I just broke my ankle. In fact, I only just made it out with a minute to spare. According to the statistics map, that was a village fort room. So I decided I would keep my eye open for those in the future. Decided to take all of my money out of the bank so I could gamble a little more. The only vault equipment that I didn't have was some legs, and they were for sale. And what I unlocked was just a belt. I'm not sure about the legality of just wearing a belt, but I suppose it's only me down here in the vault. No one will call the police. Okay, dear God. Now I really am king of the hobos. Look at me in my briefs and my Geordies and my corrugated iron chest plate. I do recognize the skin isn't helping matters either. I kind of look like a depressed dad who inhales menthols like M&Ms. Day 25, I decided to make a new spot down on the farm floor. Allegedly, if you put these podzol blocks down and then try and grow trees on them, they grow faster. I'm not sure if that's true, if I'm just remembering that completely wrong, but I'll give it a try. Using 2 stacks of bone meal, I was able to encourage 1 tree to grow so I could get some more leaves. I replanted them just in case I did get unlucky, and then started making my preparations for my next vault trip. Crabs! Besides crabs in our new vault, we got a brief reprieve from the coldness of outside, and also access to another crystal mining room. The gem I'm most interested to find is these little red ones. With the red crystals, I'd be able to make repair kits, and finally repair my stupid pickaxes which keep breaking. I swear to God, these pickaxes are made of cheese. Strangely, the most valuable chests I was finding was these druidic living chests. They contained knowledge dust and also other strange items like this living creature egg. What is this? Contains a random passive mob egg. Does that mean it might contain a sheep? Access to these lush vaults filled with life is quite rare, so I made sure to grab some leaves before leaving, and also filled up my canteen. Bingo! 25,000 XP for that. And I get a crate. I always forget I get a crate. The next vault crystal recipe was a bit of a meme. It demanded snowballs, which is something that's in no short supply upstairs. The other thing I had to do before I forgot was investigate knowledge. Using these blue crystals, we can make this knowledge crystal thing. And with an incredible amount of Ty Lopez's famous knowledge dust, we can craft ourselves a knowledge star. We'll get into it later, but it's very powerful. I had some gem sacks to open, so I made sure to do so. Remember, these can be glued onto my tools to make them more efficient. Afterwards, I investigated that egg we found. It basically randomized itself into an animal egg. We got a pig, which is arguably the stupidest animal to possibly get. Using our animal pens over here, though, we can imprison the pig and breed him. Ah, I got him. And now I put him in here. Ah! These animal pens are magical things that allow you to store infinite amounts of animals. So all we need is a second pig, and then we can infinitely scale them. Why we would want to do that, I don't know. Anyway, I was done with this bounty quest, so we got ourselves some rewards, and then I made myself a new item. This is a crystal workbench, and it can be used to modify my vault crystals to give them different objectives. For now, though, I have one objective, which is to get netherite, and so I was downstairs digging myself a tunnel by which I could put my nether portal. Now, I'm not sure entirely why, but in the past I've had terrible luck amending race relations between me and the zombified pigmen. I'm not sure why, but in several previous videos, as soon as I go to the nether, they start attacking me. Time seems to have healed wounds, though, this time, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that the race of zombified pigmen appear to have forgiven me for my undying love of Greg's bacon sausage rolls. Much to the moist and crispy satisfaction of my eyes, I was given a nether fortress not 200 meters from where I spawned. This is going to save us a considerable amount of time in the long run. My first little survey into the nether is just to find anything useful and scope out how dangerous my spawn is. I seem to have gotten quite lucky with the mushrooms nearby, but then I began to feel this strange tingling feeling that I realized was my bodily fluids beginning to boil. The nether was incredibly warm. This was a striking contrast to what I'm used to, so I made sure to get out of there. As soon as I returned back to my original dimension, I was mogged by a pigman. My South London reflexes allowed me to stab the man in the eyes before he was able to ask for my twinings. But much like the experience of visiting London at all, I was immediately filled with regret, as I realized I could probably have cornered and captured that man in order to trade with him later. It was now day 29 of my isolation in the vault, down in the dark, and I was beginning to go a bit insane. So I made myself an outfit made out of leaves. There was a functional aspect to my madness though. Leaf armor allegedly can help with you not boiling yourself in hot environments. I don't know how, and quite frankly the science is beyond me. Just before I was about to reach boiling point, a quick outfit change, and all of a sudden I was feeling cool as a cucumber. With my new air-conditioned outfit, I started making my way across a lava lake. The reason for this is I need netherite, and it's only found at a certain depth. I need to find somewhere I can dig a tunnel where the lava can't reach. I chose a random spot just here, and as luck would have it, it was a good location. I made my way downwards and then longwards, searching for the precious metallic material I need. Didn't take me too long till I found my first bit, and after that, some more. Once I had enough, I started making my way out. I got a little lost at first, but then recognized a little orphan pig child and was able to retrace my steps. I stored some of my findings in a nearby shulker and then headed upstairs. It was now time to make the next vault crystal. And for that, our only remaining ingredient is the snowballs. In order to go outside at all, of course, I needed to bring my exposure gear. I can't be out for long, but this will offer me a couple of minutes of protection. At the moment, during the nights, it gets so cold outside, I start freezing even while in the elevator. So without this gear, I'd be dead in minutes. But it's fine, I had silk touch on my shovel anyway, so I just grabbed the snow blocks and headed back inside. No need to turn myself into a cornetto, of which the mint chocolate flavor is the best, and if you have a different opinion, you're wrong. Just as I was making my vault crystal, it did dawn on me that it may become impossible for me to continue any further if I get a vault crystal recipe with items that I have no access to. There are a few items that I believe I have no solution for. Those items are cocoa beans, leather, coral, kelp, and racehorse semen. Oh no, sorry, that's from a different... And so I was keeping that in mind as I went into the new vault, having a think about what of these blocks may be needed in recipes for future vault crystals, and if I was worried I wouldn't be able to obtain them otherwise, made sure to grab some. One thing that was noteworthy about this level 11 dungeon is we saw the introduction of a new type of danger that could potentially end my life, and that is the trapped chest. Some of the chests, when you open them, they just throw a bottle of poison straight onto the floor. This can be extremely deadly, especially if you were low on health beforehand. Kind of like if you were at school and you thought that your crush just waved at you, but then you realize you're 35 and there's no such thing as women. I managed to find a little trick in that vault as well. For the fill the bar with juice vault objective, I found that if you can find these coins, they're incredible for getting the job done. One quick, easy treasure room here, and I've managed to finish the entire vault. Yes, we got 4 points. So now we can get speed. Speedy. And now I have permanent speed. The completion of that vault has also meant we finally have the ingredients to unlock knowledge. Yes, first Prometheus gave people fire, now I give my own brain the ability to read. I mentioned this is one of the most powerful skill points to get, and that is true. This is the knowledge skill tree, and on here we have some crazy mods that you may or may not recognize. Anywhere from infinite storage chests to nuclear detonators, it's all on here. I decided to unlock something that doesn't even sound that interesting. It's basically gluing pouches together. Basically, it's a controllable inventory that only picks up what you want. It should be helpful, but I need to make the pouch first, and I've been not doing that because if I make a shard pouch with my purple wool I can't get, then I get one for free. So I've been suffering myself because I might one day get something for free, and if I'm gonna get it for free, then I don't want to buy it. But I also can't complete the quest because I don't have purple wool. If anyone knows a solution to my problem, please help me. The next vault crystal recipe actually gave me a bit of a fright because I was worried I wasn't able to get salmon. But then I remembered you can get salmon as long as the fishing hole is large enough. So naturally, I headed to the basement. Oh yes, I had also captured a zombie villager, I forgot to mention that. He's been a prisoner for several days now, but I don't have any nether wart to cure him. While I was wandering about, having to think about where I put my fishing hole, I ran into a chicken. It had a zombie child on it originally, but it suffocated himself in the wall. Absolute Chad move. And now I have a single chicken to give me eggs and maybe get a second chicken. Temperature on the surface was now so cold that frostbite spirits were beginning to spawn. They're like blazes, but they leave trails of white goo wherever they go. Naturally, I decided to call them frosty gooners. Anyway, so I started digging myself a fishing hole. Took me a couple of days because I made it way too big. Someone on the internet once told me that if it's not big enough, you can't get good stuff from your fishing. I don't know how big I'm supposed to make it, so here it is. Bigger the better. I don't know if that's actually true though, because it felt like it was taking ages for the fish to actually bite. I was down there for a good 20 minutes before I had enough salmons. Everything else needed was plentifully available in my underground lair though, so it was fine. Anyway, we went to the Nether for a certain reason, didn't we? We got ourselves these nice netherite ingots. Fabulous. With those, we can craft some new tool stations. The first is this. It's the Vault Recycler. My favorite thing about it is that every time you recycle something, you get a chance to get some netherite scrap. So it basically pays for itself. Oh, we did get netherite scraps. Yay, my gambling addiction's back. The Vault Forge allows us to craft new weapons, armor, and materials, using these special little ingots we got for completing the quest of building it. At the top, we can sacrifice scrap in order to increase the quality of the crafted item. So naturally, I'm gonna let the bar fill up all the way before I make something. I then found out I can use a bucket to apparently extract eggs from the chicken we've imprisoned. This is how we'll eventually get a second chicken. That's if my luck was better. And the final thing I built with my netherite ingots is this, the identification stand. This makes gambling more efficient as I can take all of my unidentified objects and identify them all at once, like so. The next vault I found myself in was a deep slate, deep crag vault, apparently. It had kind of an underground mine vibe to it, complete with zombies with mining helmets on. Notably, as I was about halfway done the vault, I spawned something truly evil. I can't explain exactly what happened, but basically a bunch of the zombies suddenly got spooky ghosts on their head, which meant that they were completely impervious to all damage. That includes ranged and emotional. I determined what likely is happening here is the one with the golden cup above his head is in some way rizzing up his friends, causing them to be impervious to damage. Problem is, I can't hit him because of all the ghouls around him. I solved this problem the same way I solved most of my life's problems. I decided to just ignore it and hope it would go away. I ran into the adjacent chamber and just continued looting. I'm not sure if they were just too slow or not motivated enough, but I was able to finish off the objective of the vault and get out without ever seeing them again. Decided to spend my new skill point on upgrading my heal ability once again. I'm finding that these vaults are getting more and more dangerous. Invincible enemies aside, they seem to be hitting pretty damn hard. And not only that, but the cold of the overworld is starting to seep into the other dimensions. The winter is upon us. I found myself starting to freeze in certain areas. All of these factors combined mean that I'll probably soon be wearing a wrist brace. On day 35, I built the Vault Artisan Station. This can't paint for me, but it does allow me to re-roll some of my items and give them different magical abilities and stuff. I was fraught with terror for a brief moment upon looking in the recipe for my next Vault Crystal. It needed apples, and briefly I was worried, but then I realized I have literally crates of apples just behind me. I stole them from the pirate dimension. Alongside apples, I also needed another thing I didn't really have, basalt. Like the apples though, it wasn't too hard to find once I applied my brain. Oh, hello. Finished the apple vault on day 37 and was awarded my XP and expertise. Refilled my dopamine meters by gambling all of the items I got, and subsequently selling all of the copper wiring from the items I didn't want. Opening up my reward crate from the vault, I got a new item, an augment. This can be used to enhance my vault crystals and give me different objectives. This is how eventually we're going to be fighting some of the deadliest creatures in the vault dimensions. One has to fine-tune their vault crystals to unlock bosses. I was going to quickly check how cold it was upstairs, but upon losing 25% of my health to the cold, decided that's a bad idea. Ow, I'm still freezing. I am still freezing and shaking. Not gonna lie, for as well as we're doing in terms of searching the vaults, our home dimension is becoming more and more unlivable. We're going to have to do something about the temperature soon. In order to avoid the inevitability of being unable to craft any more vault crystals, I have been contemplating getting this. The Botania mod will allow us to transmute items for others using a mana pool, and will allow me access to certain items I can't get otherwise. For example, as you can see here, we can get leather by transmuting rotten flesh. A delightful process, I'm sure, but it also costs 6 knowledge points to unlock this, and I was torn as to whether or not that's too expensive. It was then that my worst case scenario was realized. Looking into my next vault crystal recipe, I need 5 leather, and I had no idea how I was going to do this. I'd managed to store up a good amount of food, so I can probably survive the winter for a while, but without access to new vaults, I will eventually starve to death. My only hope would be that I was able to get some leather in the vault portal I already opened. This vault did turn out to be quite interesting, as we unlocked a new objective. This new vault objective is called Light the Braziers. As you can see up here, it says 0 of 3, because I need to light 3 braziers before I can leave. This vault also happened to be filled with cabbage men, which kind of filled me with hope, to be honest. The vault seems to have a very naturalistic theme to it. I thought it might be possible for me to find purple flowers to make my purple dye, or perhaps more of those animal eggs and get a cow or something. But annoyingly, as I continued my way through the slimy, disgusting vault interior, and as my objective neared completion, it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find what I needed. It didn't matter how many cabbage men I murdered, or living chests I looted, I didn't seem to feel any happier, or find what I needed. Eventually, my time in the vault was up, and I had to return to my home portal. In the Light the Brazier's objective, you don't get teleported out, you've got to make your way to the exit. It's kinda lame, but one does get a new reward crate, which is nice. So I was at a complete loss of what to do. I can't access any new vaults, and eventually these crops will die from the cold. And then I would be out of food, and I would starve to death. But I swear there must be a solution. There must be some way I can get leather. I do have one single idea as to how I'm going to get leather, but it's going to take a while. If you can think of anything that might help me, please tell me in the comments. But for now, I'm going to end this video here. But not before giving my utmost thanks to the patrons. You're all extremely attractive, charismatic individuals, and your support means the world to me and the channel. And every day you lot fill me with motivation to continue making these stupid videos. I'll now read a couple of names at random. Jordan, Scott,